Hi, Dr. Reagan Robertson, CCO of Productive Dentist Academy here, and I have a question for you. Are you finding it hard to get your team aligned to your vision, but you know you deserve growth just like everybody else? That's why we've created the PDA Productivity Workshop. For nearly 20 years, PDA workshops have helped dentists just like you align their teams, get control of scheduling, and create productive practices that they love walking into every day. Just imagine how you will feel when you know your schedule is productive, your systems are humming, and your team is aligned to your vision. It's simple, but it's not necessarily easy. We can help. Visit productivedentist.com/workshop. That's productivedentist.com/workshop to secure your seats now.
A lot of dental practice, they say, well, I've got to have somebody who does case presentations. No, as the dentist, you're presenting the case. You are the one who's getting the patient to nod their head and say yes to treatment. Even before they know how much it is, they want you to be the one to do it.
Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Bruce B. Baird, and you're listening to the Productive Dentist Podcast. In this podcast, I will give you everything that I've learned over the last 40 years in dentistry, working with thousands of dentists. I'll tell you, it's not that my way is the only way. It's just one that has worked extremely well for me, and I'd love to share that with you so you too can enjoy the choices and lifestyle that productivity allows. More time for things you love, increased pay, better team relationships, and lowered stress. Let's get into it with this week's episode of the Productive Dentist Podcast.
Hi, this is Dr. Bruce Baird with the Productive Dentist Podcast, and this is going to be about leadership, and it's another one of the questions I got from one of our listeners. How can doctors, through their leadership development, build the skills to set expectations, have crucial conversations with their team, and promote accountability among themselves and the team? Well, fantastic question. And we could probably do an all-day seminar on it. I'm going to touch some of the highlights of what I see in this question. But first of all, how do we develop the leadership skills? I think one of the books that you should read is Crucial Conversations. And it's a book I read several years ago because I struggled, to how do I set expectations with people without being a prima donna or somebody who, you don't understand what kind of debt we have in this practice. And, I want to set these expectations. And there are times, and basically all of this, that question about how do you develop the skills to set expectations, it starts with you. It starts with the boss. It starts with the leader. And you can't, if you're showing up, 20 minutes late for the morning and you really don't have a big interest in training your team and you're just there going through the motions. It's a job, you like it, but it's not the do all end all for your life. Well, then you're going to have a difficult time. You're going to have an extremely difficult time setting expectations and setting kind of rules and regs. So what I would say is, first off, you need to get systems in place that are solid systems for accounts receivable, for revenue cycle management, for case presentation skills, for financial options. Everything has to be set. I love Pete Dawson and I went through all of Pete's courses years ago. And Pete used to say, there's a place for everything and everything in its place. Now he was talking about instruments and impressions and all of that, which I agree. There's a place for everything and everything should be in a place. So everybody knows where everything is. But what about our systems? There's a system for everything. And there's a way of doing everything. And that way is the way that you, as the leader, have developed through education and most of us are not going to come out of school knowing all of our systems. you're going to have to go, and that's one of the things we teach at Productive Dentist Academy. These are systems that you're going to put in play that are going to be solid. They're going to be systems that you can count on. They're going to be systems that are maybe not universal, because a lot of people don't do things the way that we recommend doing it, but it's going to be something that you understand and your team totally understands. So when you get into a situation where everybody is trained, everybody is on the same page, then what happens when someone goes off the rail? That's when you need to, because you're going to set expectations based upon the systems that you have in play. These are our expectations. This is what we do. A, B, C, D. We have a patient that we're going to do a treatment plan on. We do the treatment plan. B, we're going to ask if they have any questions. We're going to answer those questions. A, B, C, D. How much is this going to be? Do you have financial options? Absolutely. What are your financial options? Everybody in the office should be able to tell you these are our financial options. A lot of dental practice, they say, well, I've got to have somebody who does case presentations. No, as the dentist, you're presenting the case. You are the one who's getting the patient to nod their head and say yes to treatment. Even before they know how much it is, they want you to be the one to do it. So all at that point you need to do is tell them this is how much approximately your case is going to be, but I'm going to have Summer go over that with you. And then Summer has a system she goes through. So everybody in the practice has this A, B, C, D. Now, you're setting these expectations. But what happens if somebody falls off the rail? That's when we call that a training opportunity. We say, okay, at our next team meeting, which you should be having at least once a month, and I would say early in your career and early with your team, that should be 4 hours a month, and maybe even a full day a month to train on what you want and how you want it done. Okay. As you get further in your career, and only further in your career with the same team that you had to start with, because team turnover is a total bummer. I had one assistant been with me 10, 120, 132 years. So early on in my career, like I told you guys, I lost employees left and right because I didn't know what I was doing. We teach a course called Driving the Bus. I didn't know how to drive the damn bus. How can I hold people accountable to get on the bus if I didn't know how to drive it? And so that's where you need help. But once you get that figured out as the leader, which you should, now what kind of conversations to have when people fall off the rail and move away from a system that you have in place? Well, you have a training opportunity. When you have your training, you talk about it. Hey guys, I noticed that when we're doing this, I'm starting to see some, our financial arrangements options. I've noticed that they're not being signed, and we're starting to see some cancellations, which usually cancellations have to do with our financial options. When a patient's not fully understanding what their financial options are, guess what happens? They end up canceling the appointment because it wasn't something that they totally understood. So, but when you have to have that crucial conversation, because I call a training opportunity as more of a group solution. I say, hey guys, I'm seeing this. Let's keep a close watch on it. But then it gets down to a crucial conversation with a specific team member. And I would have no problem calling in somebody in the office saying, hey, I love the way you talk to the patients. I love the way you assist. But this is something I've noticed, and we've really got to shore this up because, these patients don't seem to be 100% committed to the treatment. I need you to come get me. I need you to, whatever that system breakdown is. And that crucial conversation, and the patient, and your employee is going to be going, yes, I understand, Dr. B, I'm going to do that better. And then what you do is you trust but verify. You're going to say, okay, great, let's do it. And if I can help you, let me know. That's coming as a leader. That's coming different as just being pissed off at somebody for not doing it the way you want it done. And so I simply say, yeah, that's great. But then you're going to keep following that person to make sure over the next month, 2 months, that, they're following the protocol that the whole team is following. And then comes the time where they're not doing that again. And you might have a second conversation and say, we've talked about this before. I'm going to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. I go, is everything okay at home? Is everything going good? Or, oh yeah. And at some point, if a team member continually flows against what's going on, you've got to have some accountability, because if you don't, it kills your team. I mean, you may have 5 people that work for you. If you let one get away with not doing things the way that you have set up the practice to do, then what happens is the whole place starts to fall apart. Have I ever seen that happen? Yeah, I've seen it happen in person. I've seen it happen in probably 400 practices around the country that we've worked with, because it's absolutely critical that these crucial conversations are had. And like I say, read the book, Crucial Conversations. It really is awesome. And it helped me. It helped me to be able to talk to patients in a way, or talk to a team in a way that I'm not attacking them. I'm attacking the behavior of what's going on. But if you start letting people get away with things, then everyone's going to be getting away with it. And I can tell you, I've seen it over and over and over and over and over and over again in dental practices where it's not that it's their favorite, because some of the team will be going, well, she can get away with anything because Dr. So-and-so likes her. No, that can't happen in your practice. Again, I've been there, I've done that. But what can happen is you can directly have conversations with people and let them know that this is the behavior that we have. No matter if you know them from outside of the office and you consider them, maybe I've seen people hire friends and then they can't say anything to them, and the friend just basically runs over the rest of the practice. And then what we end up having is an invitation. You have to be willing to invite people to go to their happy place if that's what we need to have. In other words, you can invite people to go to their happy place, because, and the way I do that is I'm talking to the patient, I keep saying patient, sorry. I talk to my team member or my employee, and I say, we've gone over this 3 times. And, I'm not sure you get it. I've given you every benefit of the doubt, but, I think you're going to have to find a place somewhere else to work, somewhere else where you're going to be happy. Because there's no way you're happy when I'm constantly on you about not getting this or that done. And I don't know what the reasons are for why you're having such a tough time, but we're only here on this planet for a short time. And I want you to be happy. I want you to have true joy and happiness in your life, and you invite them to go somewhere else. Now, I've done that with an employee who was a very good friend, and she was pissed. And I've talked about it in previous podcasts, but if you didn't hear it, she was pissed. She was a hygienist, and she'd suffered from depression, bipolar, and she would come in, she'd be the best employee in the world. And then the next week, she'd be pissed about everything. And then the next week, she'd be great. And I told her, I said, man, we really got to watch this. And I probably didn't have the crucial conversations that I should have. And then finally in January, which is what I do every year, I'd look in January and say, who am I surrounded myself with? What are the fun things I'm doing? Who are these folks? Are they leading me in the right direction? Am I leading myself in the right direction? And so I told her, I said, I'm going to invite you to your happy place. She says, you're firing me? And she was so pissed off. I said, well, no, I'm inviting you to your happy place. And she left. And she was a beautiful photographer. She was just a great person. And she was so pissed and slammed the door, left. And a year later, she was in Colorado now, and she had opened up her own hygiene office, a solo office, and had opened up a photography shop next door. And she was, like I say, an unbelievable photographer. She came back to me a couple of years later, walking down the hall, and I thought, oh no, here she comes. And we're still friends to this day, but I thought, hey, she's going to punch me. But she came and hugged me, started crying, and said, I would have never got to the place I wanted to be if it hadn't been for you. And so remember that, sometimes you have to have you're always going to have crucial conversations, but sometimes you have to invite people to go to their happy place. So anyway, hopefully this has been a good podcast for you guys. And remember, vote for the Productive Dentist podcast and tell your friends about it. And I look forward to next time.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Productive Dentist Podcast. If you found this episode helpful, make sure you subscribe. Pass it along to a friend. Give us a like on iTunes and Spotify, or drop me an email at podcast@productivedentist.com. Don't forget to check out other podcasts from the Productive Dentist Academy at productivedentistpodcast.com. Join me again next week for another episode of the Productive Dentist Podcast.